and stuff. So yeah, you could say I'm a big fan.
I like to hear that. Yeah,
I'm buzzing that you could join us for this, and then you do a podcast, right? You do a podcast with Matt Lewis.
Yeah, with
as I understand it.
Neville Longbottom, that guy. The club asked me whether I wanted to do a podcast, Leeds United official one. So I was like, yeah, I'll give it a go. And it started off a little bit iffy, but then once we got going, it was good and quite enjoyed it.
It must be better produced than this, as you're going to see. But that's the wonderful thing. You can just be with us now. We just talk about football. We talk about all sorts of things. We've got a few business ideas that we'd like to run past you at some point, Patrick. I know you've got a few bob now. Perhaps you might like to invest yourself. But boys, where should we begin with Patrick?
We've got to start with Bielsa, because he just strikes me, boys, as one of those managers that I don't want to say he's a dream and a nightmare, but what I mean to say is I would love to be managed by him, but I'd be slightly freaked out as well.
I think you pretty much summed it up there. It's hard, really hard. I remember the first season under him, I think the longest we went was 29 days without a day off or something. And there are sometimes long patches where we don't have a day off, but he expects nothing less than 150% every day. And if you're not giving it, he lets you know about it. Like, he's one of them where he doesn't wrap you in cotton wool and he won't constantly praise you. It's more about getting you to improve. And even if you played well, there's always something you could have done better. So tomorrow we won't touch football. It'll be 2 or 3 gym sessions and then a run. And then the next 2 days will be tough, like murder ball kind of esque situations. And then into the game.
What is murder ball?
Exactly how it sounds. It's brutal. Like, it started off as 11v11 full pitch, no offsides, no corners. So whenever the ball goes out, you just basically sprinting back to position. Originally, they had a cone for each player, or like a flat disc, and you had to sprint back to that position every time the ball went out of play. So you never got a rest period. It was just sprinting around. And you were having to do this and play football whilst there's probably 6 or 7 coaches just in the centre circle on the pitch, like in the way. And it's literally as mental as it sounds.
If you're getting a bollocking, is it through a translator? Does it kind of go through someone else? Or
yeah,
is it direct from him?
It's strange. So he's obviously shouting in Spanish if he's giving you a bit of a bollocking. Because I've been with him for 3 years now, I pretty much understand everything he's saying. So I know when he's swearing at me and I know when he's telling me off. And then he said it all like kind of angrily and it's loud. And then the translator just translates it in English.
So you're getting abused twice.
Hold on,
pretty
right.
much.
Does the translator not leave anything out? Like, does he say it word for word?
The original translator that we had in the first year, he used to do it word for word. And then in one meeting, he realized that Marcelo was really aggravated. He was angry. And he started skipping out bits that he was saying. As he was skipping them out, the manager was like, no. Like, basically saying that he wanted him to say what he'd said in Spanish, literally, word for word. So.
But do you think you're the fittest you've ever been now?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think before I played under Bielsa, I was never known as like a hard-working striker. I was actually like, I don't want to say lazy, but not too far from it. And now I can run so much further and for a faster, longer time and stuff. So.
How does he compare with Tony Pulis? Because you share with Crouchy a previous with Pulis, and we have heard from Crouchy about the horrors of a Pulis pre-season.
That was brutal. It was getting up at 5, running one morning, and then the next morning I'd be doing the same, but with a bike. I could run okay, but on a bike, I was horrific. I was in the group that was just above the goalkeepers, and we had like 38-year-old Konstantopoulos who couldn't cycle. And there was me and Britta Sombalonga in the second to last group, and we were dreadful. And they were all shouting, "Go faster, go faster!" And Britt just couldn't, and his chain snapped as he was trying to pedal. And on one of the sides of the road, there was just a big valley like going down. As his chain snapped, he's just tilted over and gone down. I had to get off my bike. I was laughing so much.
There's quite a few similarities between me and you, Patrick, I'll be honest. Being shit on a bike is definitely one of them.
Yeah. All right, so on that point, does Bielsa have a kind of test, a bit like the cycling, that you have to do to kind of earn his respect, Pulis style?
He's built a track right around the training ground, and it's a running track, but it's not like an athletics track. It's got hills in it. So it's up and down. It's a bit weird. And there's a 12-minute test, and you have to run as far as you can in 12 minutes. And then there's a 1K test where you have to do it as fast as you can.
How'd you fare at that?
12-minute one, I was pants, like really, really bad. I'm only just, my aim was just get to 3K. And everyone else is like, people are clearing like 3.5, 3.6. And I'm literally just clearing 3K. But the 1 kilometer one, as fast as you can, I'm all right at.
The thing I wonder about Bielsa, for all the sort of the craziness and the tough training sessions, Patrick, because he's done so much in football, I would if I was you, I'd really want to just sit down with him sometimes and just hear some Bielsa stories.
I remember one team meeting, he did say to us that we're relatively easy to manage because we don't try and bring a large group of girls back to have a party the night before in a hotel like Batistuta did.
He was a good-looking boy.
So yeah, that's the only one he's really told us. And then we kind of hear about all the myths and like legends that everyone associates with him.
Have you, Bielsa, ever come to blows? Not to blows, but have you ever had a disagreement with him or an argument?
There's been a couple of times where like you're tired, you're knackered, you're running your balls off, and he's still asking for more, and then you want to just turn around and say like piss off, but you're kind of a little bit scared and hesitant, so you just end up shouting something. And then there was one time this season where we were doing a crossing drill, and he always like positions himself in kind of like an awkward place, and the ball's come in and I've connected with it so sweetly on my left foot. Imagine it's near the top corner and he stood right inside the goal, and I've not seen him, so I've just hit the ball. And I'm not joking you, it has come flushed straight off his like bridge of his nose. And all I've seen is his glasses fly about 10 meters and him hold his nose. No. And he's like walked off holding his nose. And I was like, sorry, obviously shitting myself. And he's gone like a little bit angrily, de nada, like it's nothing. He's walked past us like 5 minutes later to go see the physio, and he's got like a big cut across his nose and his glasses. I don't know if you noticed in the last few weeks when he's doing an interview, he's using the same glasses and they're not straight. They're like wonky.
No way.
So I feel bad. I should really get him a new pair, but I'm scared to kind of bring it up again.
Should have been crouching, shouldn't he? Then that problem wouldn't have happened.
To be honest, what was he doing?
Exactly, just stand outside the goal.
Yeah.
Or behind the goal.
Yeah,
I don't know, but it ruined the rest of my session. I was just like, oh crap.
When's he treated you? Is he the kind of manager that gets pizzas in? What's the kind of the carrot that he gives? Because it sounds like he works you really hard.
I think when we got promoted, you kind of sort of softer side to him. But in terms of treats, it's quite strange because we have like a really strict weighing in program. We have to weigh in every day, and we got set like a weight target. And if you're overweight, then you're in trouble. You're doing extra sessions. You've got to be on your target within like 0.5 of it every day. And so you have this. And then sometimes when we're on an away trip, going on the train down, he'd just walk down the train handing out these sweets. And you don't know whether to take one, whether it's a test or not, but he's handing out these nice sweets. So that's as close as it gets to getting like a little treat.
Crouchy, how do you think Eggy Boff would go down with Bielsa?
No, I can't imagine that going down too well. I think people would be too scared to, stay on a coach or something like that. I can't imagine that happening with him.
Patrick, are you familiar with Eggy Boff?
Yeah, when I was coming up into the first team a few years ago, I remember that happening.
We've had a message from Evan. Evan says, did Crouchy invent Eggy Boff? I went onto Urban Dictionary to find the description matches Crouchy's explanation almost to the letter. It then turns out the definition was submitted by someone called Crouchy15 in 2011. Now, this is when Crouchy was playing for Spurs with the number 15 on his shirt.
Wow.
I'm not going to confirm or deny that.
Oh, it's true. It's so you, isn't it?
No, listen, I can't claim to say I invented Eggy Boff.
But hang on, I think the two things are getting mixed up here. I don't think you did invent Eggy Boff. I think you inherited it and played it a bit like Patrick's said that he's done. But I reckon Crouchy15 was your little internet name.
No comment.
What do you reckon, Patrick? Guilty or not guilty?
Seems like too much of a coincidence, I've got to be honest.
It definitely is.
Yes, it does.
Definitely is. Patrick, whilst you're here, I know we wanted to ask a current player about the draft excluders that we're seeing this season and a bit of stuff around that. Have you ever had to be in the position where you have to lie down like a bitch and be the draft excluder on a free kick?
No, I haven't. Although I reckon I'd probably be one of the first choices because I'm quite, not as long as Crouchy, but I'm quite
That's what
long
I
to
said.
lie down.
Do you use that tactic at Leeds?
No, in the wall, we just, I don't think we jump. Just stand on our toes and just try and take it in the face. I mean, for the amount of times a free kick goes under the wall, it's not really necessary.
Yeah, you've hit it nail on the head.
I was really hoping Bielsa had chosen one of you and had just gone, you, down.
I would be amazed if Bielsa hasn't looked at least examined the draft excluder and considered it with his attention to detail.
I'm pretty sure that he will have, because there's probably not a football game across Europe that he's missed in the top leagues. Him and his analysts, they watch literally every bit of football that goes on.
How much of your training and stuff like that is done like in the classroom? Do you know what I mean? Is it always done in the meeting rooms and stuff?
We do all the training, even if we're in the meeting room, we do all the training on the pitch. But on a weekly, if we've just got a game the following weekend, you're probably looking at 9 or 10 meetings, like
Really?
half an hour a piece.
And would you say like the attention to detail is by far more than any manager you've worked with?
Yeah, it's just a completely different way of looking at it. Like highlighting things that if I was just sitting there and watching it, I wouldn't pick out naturally myself. It is sometimes, I'm sure he knows as well, that sometimes like we're not the most concentrated if we're tired or whatever, we've been in the meeting room a long time. And he does try and keep them short, but yeah, it's fascinating the things that are highlighted that are new to you.
Has he ever come up to you personally with like a dossier, a brown envelope of intel?
The Bamford files.
Patrick. I don't know why I do the same voice for Capello.
You always do every action
Sven.
that Chris has ever done. He goes, Patrick.
Crouchy's done the robot again because it's 100 Premier League goals for Peter Crouch.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Patrick, I just want to talk about like your journey, obviously, because it's different, isn't it? Like mine was different. You know, you've had some difficult spells as well, but now I feel like you've arrived now in the Premier League as an established player. People talking about you like for England squad and stuff like that.
Starting at Forest, I was like a boyhood Forest fan. So I used to go watch them every week since I was like 5 or 6 with my dad. And that was a tough decision moving to Chelsea, to be honest, because it was like leaving home for the first time and making that big jump. But the way I looked at it was that like it's easier, if things didn't work out, it's easier to drop back down than it is to try and climb up to the top again. And they're obviously a massive team. I knew the pathway would be loans. I didn't realise it would be like 6 or 7 loans later. But yeah, it kind of built me up. And eventually I just decided that I wanted to find a place where like I could settle down a bit. And originally thought it would be Middlesbrough, and then finally found myself at Leeds. And yeah, it's been perfect since then.
How was your experience at Chelsea?
Look, when I signed there, I obviously had the dream of kind of breaking into the first team and getting a shot at it. But I'm not like, I don't have any kind of regret, or I don't resent them for like not getting a chance, because at the time I was there, they were winning the Premier League. They won the Champions League, and they were obviously one of the best teams in Europe. Obviously I'd like to, but it just didn't work out at that time.
Was there times where you doubted that you would be a Premier League player?
Yeah, I think so. I think when I first had my first stab in the Premier League was at Palace, and I was 21. I was probably a little bit overconfident. I just won Championship Player of the Year and thought, you know what, like I can do this in the Prem. I'm going to go to Palace. I'm going to play every game. And then that didn't happen. And I was kind of like, whoa, like what's happened? And it took a while for me to kind of get my head around it, that I had to, playing in the Championship was a lot different to playing in the Prem, and I had to kind of up it again. And yeah, after Burnley, I did question whether I'd play properly in the Premier League and get a good go at it. But then once I started playing like football regularly and got my self-belief back, I kind of knew that was where I wanted to be.
You had some real big names there at Chelsea. So when you signed at the start of 2012, didn't you? So Chelsea are about to win the Champions League under Di Matteo. Did any of the big name players in that team, like the Frank Lampards, the John Terrys, were they interested in younger players like you? Did they try and help you out at all?
Yeah, to be fair, JT was brilliant. I remember it was probably the second or third day that I trained. And I was just walking across from the academy building across the first team car park to get the train. And he was just parked up and he opened his window and made a big fuss of me, like knew my name, like said hello, said if I needed anything, like just don't hesitate to contact him. So that was brilliant. And then once I started training with the first team, which like a couple of weeks later, like Lamps I got on well with, JT as well, Ashley Cole, like the English lads were all good, Gary Cahill and them lot. And the foreign lads were good as well, to be fair. Fernando Torres helped me a fair bit as a striker.
Because we've heard from Crouchy, you've been telling us about the rivalry between strikers and how, let's say, a new striker comes in and you're the established striker, then it's quite difficult. And Torres is hardly banging in the goals at that point. So I'm quite impressed that he put his arm around you there, Patrick.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest, I don't think Torres was threatened by a 19-year-old skinny Patrick Bamford. I don't think he was threatened by me. I think he just saw me as a youngster, like, trying to learn his craft. He was going through a tough time as well, so that made it even more meaningful, I guess.
Could you sort of count on them as mates at that point? Or did you feel that you never quite broke into that sort of inner circle? Like, how close were you when you were training with these players?
I wouldn't say we'd be mates. Like, if we were in a restaurant and I was in there with my friends and they were there with their friends, I wouldn't go up to them and be like, all right, mate. I'd kind of sit there and try and make sure they didn't see me, thinking, oh, do they know who I am? Do they recognise me off the pitch? But since then, it's changed a little bit.
Now, I know you are not just a talented footballer, you do play a few instruments. Do you play the piano as well? Is that one of your...
I can play it a little bit, yeah. I'm not brilliant at it, but I can play it.
Do you think you're capable of playing 1,000 Miles by Vanessa Carlton? Because Chris, how long did it take you to learn from scratch?
Well, I learned the sort of first bit in a couple of weeks. Yeah, I've performed it for the guys and everyone listening to this.
I've heard it.
Yeah, it's quite good, isn't it? And it's
fantastic. Exceptional.
Yeah, yeah. We'll bang out a little duet at some point.
Yeah.
The thing is with the Vanessa Carlton song, the theory with that is if you can learn that song, it's the only song you need because it always goes down well. Crouchy's had some night out in Vegas where that was the anthem. Then we're trying to make it the song that as the pubs open, people are going and putting it on, sending out videos with it. Next goal celebration, it'd be great to see you there. Get a player sat down on their back, you just banging out Vanessa Carlton, you know.
I'll give it a go. I'll try and get Calvin Phillips to sit down so I can sit on him.
Yeah.
Piano tune.
Would be nice to hear it. I don't know if you could send us a voice note of you like when you perfect it, just do a little bit of Vanessa Carlton. It makes everyone happier.
I'll tell you what, I'll give it a go next week.
Yes, mate.
I'd appreciate that.
What is the situation with celebrations at the club? Is Bielsa a big fan of it? I mean, you've banged in so many goals. Is it something you've given a lot of thought to? Because look at Crouchy and how dignified it is when the robot is now an iconic celebration.
In my 40 years of being on planet Earth, right, no one has described me ever as dignified.
It's a wonderful dance, Crouchy. It's a wonderful celebration, but it's iconic. And do you worry, Patrick, to be an all-time great, you need a really iconic celebration?
Keeps you awake at night, I can tell that. Do you know, I watched you at Palace, and you know when that amazing goal you scored got ruled out for a sleeve. Like, obviously, I never played with it, you know. So you know when a goal like that gets ruled out, you've pointed, didn't you? You pointed to the pass, and you got ruled out, and it was a beautiful finish as well. Like, how do you take that?
To be honest, I was fuming because I was sure that I was onside. So I thought there's no chance they're ruling it out. And then when I was walking back and they're giving it offside, I was like to the ref, why the fuck are they giving that offside? I was miles on. He's like, they said something about your arm. I was like, is that the rule? And the ref goes to me, I don't know. So at that point, no one had a clue. And I hadn't seen it back by then either.
Because it was quite an early one, wasn't it? It was an early sleeve.
Yeah.
You
One of the first sleeves, yeah.
One of the first sleeves that we'd seen.
Mm.
I was flabbergasted. I could not believe what I was seeing.
I think you'd have been in trouble, Crouchy, because your sleeve is longer than a lot of other sleeves, so it might have cost you quite a few goals. That's my
I'm
fear.
looking at this particular sleeve I've got now, right?
It's massive.
Right, that's a good few yards.
That's a double Bamford.
Yeah, you'd stand no chance today.
I reckon I'd lose about 20, 25 goals out of my collection.
Players aren't in the mood for celebrating after 2-3 minutes of check-in. Unless you really force yourself to party at that point, like make a conscious decision to really go for it.
Yeah, I'd actually like to see someone who just have to wait 2 minutes to find out the decision and then all of a sudden go absolutely nuts.
You know, because everyone goes back to the centre circle and awaits the verdict. If you just took your shirt off and ran to the other end again, you know, like after it all happened, I mean, like, and everyone came with you. Do you think? I reckon you get booked. You probably would, wouldn't you?
I don't know. I'll tell you what, I'll try it out. If it happens to me ever,
I want
you'll
it
see
so
me
badly.
sprinting to the other end of the thing.
Knee slide.
Shirt,
Full Carlton.
over the crowd barrier and everything. Like, go for it.
Shithousery of the finest.
Is there many shithouse moments that you've encountered playing? Maybe even towards you?
Do you know what? I used to enjoy doing it to the away fans when the fans were allowed in, just like winding it up and then seeing like this dad with his son and the son's probably like 7 years old and he's giving me the wanker sign. I'm thinking, Jesus.
There's something very special about that, isn't it? A wanker sign from someone who's not old enough to actually utilise the wanker sign.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen enough in sport, really, I think. But football, it definitely does. And we should be very proud of it.
So, Patrick, we've said that we are okay with shithousery on this podcast. So I'm going to just take you back to a couple of years ago when you get into a little fracas with El Ghazi and he gets a red card. You've gone down to the ground clutching your face. Just talk us through that shithousery from your perspective.
Yeah, that's probably one of the moments in football I actually regret, because at the time, like after the game, I was like, yeah, 100% he touched me. And I definitely felt it on my eye somewhere. And the more I watched it back, I just thought, oh my God, you look like a twat. I'm going to just have to come out and say, like, just accept it and say, look, that was a bad moment. And just apologise. So, yeah. I mean, I got abused for it, like, constantly from the Villa fans. And probably rightly so, but, yeah, it wasn't my finest moment.
It's like there's all sorts of shithouse behaviour and you must see enough of it as well. Is there anything that you've witnessed personally on the pitch, other Premier League players that come to mind here? Anything that's been sort of niggling at you that we can help sort?
I tell you, he was a bit like that Gabriel for Arsenal. Yeah, I don't know what his issue was. And to be fair, David Luiz, who I knew from back in time at Chelsea, when we played him at Arsenal, the first ball, I kicked him on the ankle and it was accidental. I was like, sorry, bro. He's like, don't worry, it's fine. He was chatting to me. Next time I got the ball, he absolutely clattered me. And he didn't just put me on the floor. He then like trampled over all the back of my legs. And I thought, you dirty bastard. You just told me we're brothers and like we're friends and that, and you've done that.
We've had some beauties, Chris, haven't we? People sending in shithousery that they've seen, shithousery that they've been involved with. There was a message from Scott after we talked about the customer variety of shithousery. And Scott says, I worked for Wetherspoons when we had a new self-service coffee machine installed. I told a lady it was voice activated. It was hilarious watching her shout, latte, at it for about 3 minutes before someone showed her the button to press.
That is class.
That's a good one. I saw a video, it was similar to this, of someone who got their dad a smart speaker, but told him that it was called Trevor. So this dad's going, Trevor, play me a song. Trevor.
Right there, we got a message from Jack here. Whenever we lay a patio, we always leave a penis there by laying the slabs in a specific pattern. I've sent you an example. To the untrained eye, it's easy to miss. But once you know it's there, it's impossible to avoid.
Build a shithousery, right? So the picture is now in our WhatsApp group, boys. And Chris, what do you think of this? Have a little look. So it looks, if you're just glancing at the patio, it just looks like a very nice series of tessellated terracotta tiles. But when you look close, there is a definitive, if very rectangular, cock and balls.
It's one penis in there, yeah.
I don't know if I can show this to Patrick.
Yeah.
A really subtle penis.
Just enough to get away with it.
Just enough.
It's deniable. But the problem is, everyone's going to be going out and checking their pavement now, aren't they? If anyone has had any work done.
Would you be angry, or would you kind of say, well done?
Yeah, like I think I would. If there was a penis in my patio and I hadn't seen it, like, I think you just got to go. You got to go. Well played.
But what an amazing return if you do call them back to remove the penis. Like, what an amazing afternoon that is.
Maybe it's clever from them. They charge for a new patio.
That's it. You got to pay them.
Lads, what about this message from Brendan? Says, I reckon there should be a shithousery awards pod. This is a great idea. Think about it. Do an actual awards ceremony. Because think, we've had so many categories of shithousery. Could be a bit like the Oscars. Mascot shithousery. We talked about dad shithousery, customer shithousery.
Fan shithousery.
Yeah, husband and wife shithousery. Car shithousery.
Patrick, which shithousery award would you find yourself most drawn towards? Which one would you like to dish out?
Husband and wife one, I think.
Yes. Couple shithousery.
Did you ever wind your missus up, Patrick?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, or I set her up for things like I saw something on TikTok where people are like spinning the bottle on the floor and there's like a frisbee or something, and whoever the bottle lands on just gets to pelt the frisbee at the other one as they run away. I set her up, I fixed it so that it landed on me. So obviously she's trying to run away across the garden and I've just got a frisbee just nailing her. She wasn't best pleased when she realised I'd rigged it.
Chris, you're definitely onto something here. Like, we need a big finale for this series, don't we? Basically, it's the Shithouse Oscars. What should we do? Should we get people to send in submissions, socials? Crouchy, your email, of course, is...
It's
peter.crouch@bbc.co.uk.
That's the one.
Yeah, I think this could be huge. But also, just imagine we can get back in the Samrat. That alone would be good. We've been pissing around on Zoom now for however long. Major tech problems and everything. We could be back in the Samrat. Finally, end of this series, dishing out shithouse awards. It comes down to the same thing. If people want this to happen, we'll do it. People can't be asked, but obviously not. But if you want to send in nominations, I'm quite up for making a bit of a night of it, you know. And I don't think a shithouse of the year award exists. It'd be an amazing trophy. The kind of thing you'd want in a little cabinet there, right, Patrick?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love that. I'm just not sure the missus would let me put it up. But
What's Patrick? Maybe you can help us brainstorm this. What should the trophy look like?
Who's the biggest shithouse? I think it should be modelled on them. You know, like the little trophies you'd get with an actual player on.
Probably Luis Suarez.
Yeah, I think he's well known for it, isn't he?
Yeah.
Robbie Savage or something like that.
Yeah, a gold Suarez hand in hand with Robbie Savage.
Imagine. Imagine that combo.
Crouch going for the spectacular. Oh, what a goal from Peter Crouch!
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Has Bielsa ever referred to the pancake?
No.
Not even the fullbacks, no.
No.
No, it's not caught on yet, is it?
Not quite.
The Spanish for pancake is tortilla, isn't it? So I was thinking if Bielsa could just tortilla, he wouldn't even need the translation. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, if we blew our gasket like doing one run or 5 runs, I think we'd get subbed.
But I think if ever a team, you know, would be synonymous with pancakes, it would be Leeds at the moment.
Yeah, just non-stop running. To be fair.
I see tweets saying Leeds are pancaking the shit out of this game, and it's a good thing, you know.
Is there one like single piece of advice that you've had from Bielsa that's like really helped you in one specific game or something?
He'll give me a theme that I need to kind of incorporate into the game, and it takes like months to do, really. And I think probably one of them is the counter movement. Like we work on it so much in training, but like to keep doing it so that it kind of comes naturally into your game. I think that's something that kind of I've picked up. It's taken a while, but start doing it more naturally now.
Just explain what that is, Patrick, for those of us like me and Chris who've never played the game at any sort of level whatsoever.
So like I always thought to lose a defender, sometimes you just need the like one step and then go. But the drills we do in training, it would be like dragging people out of position like 5 yards and sprinting behind them. And then it's all the drills are like manufactured around this. Doesn't matter what position you are on the field. Like it's about always kind of counteractive movements, if you like. And it's one of them things that to start with, like you have to think about it to do it, and then it kind of comes natural.
Just going back to all the prep he does, when all that Spygate stuff happened against Derby, and he personally paid that 200 grand fine, didn't he?
Yeah.
Was that one where the players thought, even for a second, about, do you know what, maybe we should all chip in it because all this prep is to help us?
Oh, no, it was nothing to do with us.
he could swallow the whole 200 grand.
Yeah. Right. To be fair, we didn't even know that he did it, but it's one of them things that, like he said, it's normal, like over in like Latin America and places like that. And so he just kind of thought it was like normal practice here, and we never knew about it until it obviously came out in the paper, and then we were ribbing the guy who got caught.
That's scouting shithousery, isn't it?
Yeah, but the thing is, right, you get fined for various things. Crouchy's explained the various fine system from when he was there. It would be bizarre if you had to step up and pay the fines at that point. Let the manager take one, you know?
Yeah, but 200 grand's a hefty fine as well. Jesus.
Yeah, that is heavy, that.
Isn't that what you used to get Crouchy for wearing flip-flops in the shower or something?
200 grand? No, mate. No, that's I mean, it got a bit silly at Stoke because the attitude of some of the players. We went from having the best squad in the world to possibly one of the worst, and there was liberties getting taken. So yeah, the fines went up, but God, 200 grand got up that much.
Patrick, as you probably know, we've been having some Dragon Dens ideas for reasons that the three of us have completely forgotten, but it seems to have taken on a life of its own. You were offered a business scholarship at Harvard, weren't you? After you did your A-levels, but you turned it down to focus on football. So I'm hoping you can bring some proper business acumen to some of these ideas.
Not so much a business graduate. I think, you know, when you kind of and ahhing whether you're going to get a pro contract as a footballer, and all my mates were starting to do their UCAS applications for uni and stuff. And I didn't have a clue what I was writing, didn't know where I wanted to go. So I was like, I'll go to America on a football scholarship. And started speaking to some universities. And then once Harvard kind of got wind of it, it sounds weird, but it was always like a secondary for me if I did get a pro contract.
Do you know, there's only a couple of players that I think education gets talked about, and that's like Frank Lampard and you.
Yeah.
And like, do you feel like you've been ever treated differently because you got a good education?
Yeah, people have like this kind of sense that I'm this proper posh guy who, because I went to private school and stuff, and the way I speak. Yeah, I feel like everyone always talks about it is me and Frank Lampard, but I'm sure there's loads of people out there who've done similar kind of standard.
But also, it's the idea of football being like everyone as well. Like this was a crazy question. Like our last guest on this podcast, Prince William, we did ask if his son could conceivably be the future king and a professional footballer. Like, could it happen?
Yeah, but did he say that could happen or not?
Yeah, he said he could. He said his son could be a professional footballer. Yeah, if he wanted to be. Yeah.
Oh, bad is it?
Be interesting.
It's a mad thought, isn't it? If he actually chose to go and do it, like if that was the route he went down, and he just happened to be blessed with this unbelievable talent.
Do you know what else he said, Patrick? Right, he said that when he used to go down to five-a-side, there was this fella that was fouling him every week, and he said when he was a kid, and he told one of his security team to get laser pens. So the next time he went down there, he had little dots as if he was getting sniped. This kid that kept fouling him.
Sniper shithousery.
Can you imagine? It's a new one. I think he's won already.
Yeah, I think that one tops everything.
Can I just ask one question as well? I keep hearing this. I don't know if it's true or not. But Patrick, please, can you clear this up? That Your family is JCB.
No.
So where does this keep coming from then?
I don't know, because the B in JCB stands for Bamford.
Right,
So,
and it's nothing to do with you.
No, someone picked it up one time and was like, it's your dad, isn't it? And then it just all of a sudden it spread like wildfire. And I remember when we got promoted, we had a little do in the hotel. And even the assistant, he's left now, but the assistant under Marcelo was like, honestly, I'm like so happy for the way you work, especially with how rich your dad is and where he's from. I was thinking, what? I was like, my dad's from Newark. What are you on about?
That is mad.
Sure that like distantly related somewhere down the line, but
wow.
And then it just kind of spread, and everyone seemed to think that I own these diggers.
That's a bit like my nacho story, isn't it? You know when the nachos.
Crouchy's got his nachos.
Yeah. Someone reckons they saw me go in the cinema. I bypass the queue and I go to the front and say nachos to the woman. Right? She gets me some nachos, even though I've pushed in. And I get the sauce, everything on it. And then I stand there at the front of the queue and eat these nachos, right? And this story, and as I'm saying it, I'm saying Crouchy's having his nachos, right?
Right.
Whilst everyone's waiting for me, right? How ridiculous is that story, right? Didn't happen, obviously. But while I was still playing for 2-3 years, it was like constantly coming up, and people were asking me on the street. I was getting texts from friends. What's this about nachos? I had like my Twitter was blowing up. It was like Crouchy's having his everything's hashtag Crouchy's having his nachos. I saw someone had a t-shirt. He had a t-shirt. With it was with t-shirts. It was crazy. James Richardson, a top presenter from Gazzetta Football Italia, well-respected journalist, asked me on his podcast about this nacho story. I suppose everyone's got a JCB nacho story, haven't they?
Yeah, something that just sticks with them.
Well, at least you can rule out all these things right now.
Yeah, just put an end to it.
So on these business ideas, though, it'd be good to bring you in on them anyway, just in case there's an opportunity here. I'm not even thinking with your sort of business, because it's clear that actually you're not some business guru, because you never actually took it up. You went and played football. So, Patrick, Spray and A's is basically sprayable mayonnaise.
Right.
It's very exciting.
I mean, it's a top idea. I'm pretty sure you agree, Patrick, yeah?
I'm just trying to picture how it works. But yeah,
it's just Crouchy can do the noise. If Crouchy, I'll pull the trigger, you do the noise.
He can't believe what he's let himself in for here.
I'm just trying to picture that thick mayonnaise making that noise.
Yeah, I think we might need to refine the consistency a touch.
So we've got an email from someone here who says, I work at a major sauce manufacturer and can confirm there have been whispers of Spray and A's becoming a thing.
What? Cool.
Wow, this is big news. Given the idea originated from the podcast community, brackets, especially Tom from near Glasgow, close brackets, I felt it was my duty to volunteer myself as your man on the inside for these discussions, your Mayo Mole.
Right.
If I hear of any developments, you'll be the first to know, but I do request that my identity be kept anonymous. Giving away trade secrets probably wouldn't do my career much good. Yours anonymously, the Mayo Mole.
Right, so you're saying we've got a Bielsa-type mole in the mayonnaise camp at the moment.
This is Spraygate.
Yeah, well, it's clearly rattling the Mayo people, though, isn't it? They're clearly seeing a potential here.
There's a demand for it.
The name's brilliant. I mean, if it works, the name's catchy. It could be the next moneymaker.
I take your point about the consistency, though. It's a valid point, and it's one we've thought about. I think, Chris, you're in favour of just a very powerful propulsion, aren't you, to get the mayonnaise out? And Crouchy, you're thinking a slightly sort of more liquid,
well, I just
less
think
glutinous.
Potentially take the consistency down a touch.
Have any of you tried putting mayonnaise in a spray bottle and doing it?
We are
That's
in
a
the
good idea,
process of
actually.
trying it. Yeah.
No, but we haven't actually done it, have we? We've spoken for like 4 weeks now or something about this idea.
Patrick makes a very valid point.
That's a valid point. Yeah.
We should put some mayo in a spray bottle and try it.
I could see what Harvard were going for now straight away. You just cut to the heart of this
I don't want to
debate
kill anyone's
instantly.
dreams here, but I'm just thinking.
Do you know what's interesting? Like, you thought you might come on here, talking about your aspirations for England, or how the Premier League's going. Did you ever think that you'd be talking about sprayable mayonnaise?
Being honest, no.
Well, it's glad to have you on board anyway, our young dragon.
We've got another one to run past you, actually, Patrick. This is a joint venture from Sam and Chris in Portsmouth. Gentlemen, let me introduce you to Kebab Cabs, a London cab fitted with a lamb doner in the front passenger seat with your salad items on the dash. Upon reaching your destination, the driver will cut you some fresh kebab with your choice of salad and sauces.
What happens if you get the taxi guy at the end of his run?
And there's no kebab left, or
Yeah, it's not so fresh.
that's a point. Yeah,
Yeah, but listen, is it ever fresh? That thing's spinning in the shop. Spinning in the shop all night, isn't it? As long as he's got that heater thing behind him, it seems to be fine.
I'm going to be honest. I've never had a doner kebab, so that doesn't appeal to me. I've never ever tried one.
You got to try these things, mate. Is that just through not being really allowed, or just choosing not to?
No, just after a night out, it was always straight McDonald's for me. Never really a kebab man.
Yeah, no, I get it. But my problem with this thing is, if he's turning a big, elephant's leg in the front, why is he bothered about you eating it in the back?
and usually a cabbie reacts with absolute fury. If you're seen bringing a kebab into his cab, that's a massive red flag, isn't it?
I just don't understand why it's the end of your journey. Do you know what I mean? I was like, you could eat it in the car and then go straight to bed afterwards.
I'm feeling that Sam and Chris from Portsmouth, that may be a no.
If I was going home for a night out with Ab or something, and I could say that I was getting a, kebab cab with Ab.
It would be a great option on Uber, wouldn't it? Uber Doner. You've got your...
Good option.
You just flick to Uber Doner and it turns up.
Patrick, honestly, mate, I really, really appreciate it. I've loved watching this season, been on fire this year. I've loved watching Leeds, to be quite honest. You've been great, but you've been at the heart of that. And you've been a top man on this pod, so I really appreciate you coming on, mate.
Oh, thank you. I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
We should get a promise or two, Chris, shouldn't we, before Patrick goes? Do you hereby pledge, Patrick Bamford, that you will attempt to learn Vanessa Carlton at some point in the next couple of weeks and send us a little video or voice message?
Yeah, I'll give it a go. I tell you what, if you give me by what date is it?
End of the season? Is that end of the Premier League season?
End of the Premier League season. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah,
good man.
Well, we could maybe come down to Crouch Fest too and play it on stage. That'd
be great. We could duet.
Who's going to sing?
Wonderful.
You on the piano playing Vanessa Carlton singing, and Chris I want Chris on that exact piano that he plays on in his room.
Yeah, I do wonder with this if we do want to set a bit of a deadline. It sounds to me that we've cobbled together here for the Shithouse Awards that will be at the end of this series. It would be lovely to have a musical guest as part of that. To be able to say it's Patrick Bamford would be probably
playing Vanessa Carlton.
Probably bang on if possible. So
I think it just sums up the pod. It's perfect.
Wouldn't it be nice, a short interval break to perform Vanessa Carlton with Patrick Bamford?
Just in the interval at Crouch Fest. While you all get your beers, we've got Patrick Bamford to play Vanessa Carlton.
So if we go ahead with these Shithouse Awards, that's probably what we say in about three weeks or something, mate. 3 weeks. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But give it a go. If you
please,
can.
yeah. And just one other thing,